It has been a deadly day in this part of the country. Saskatchewan recording its first COVID fatalities. Alberta, its highest overnight loss so far. There are now 691 cases in Alberta. 29 of them are new, with 5 new deaths, including a man in his 30s, a woman in her 50s, and 3 seniors. Now, 2 of them are in care homes, one in Edmonton, the other at the Mackenzie-Town Continuing Care Centre in Calgary. There's a major outbreak there with 41 probable or confirmed current cases. 2 residents have died. The province's Chief Medical Officer of Health on all 5 fatalities.
I would like to extend my deepest sympathies to the families and loved ones of these individuals. This news is heartbreaking for all of us. Although these individuals had risk factors like older age or chronic medical conditions, their lives mattered as much as any of ours. This has been one of the hardest days yet. Imagining the grief that these families are facing, and my heart goes out to them.
Saskatchewan's total is now sitting at 176 with 20 new cases, and as mentioned, the province has recorded its first deaths. 2 people in their 70s, only one of them linked to travel. Premier Scott Monow saying officials are stepping up contact tracing.
Today's sad news is a sobering reminder for us all that COVID-19 is a dangerous and a deadly disease, and that we have to keep making efforts to reduce the spread, and we need to continue to adhere to the measures that are in place. And I want to take a moment to thank all of you across the province of Saskatchewan for what you are doing to control the spread of COVID-19. It is having an impact, but we are a long ways from being through this yet, so we have to keep going.
The number of people losing their jobs because of the pandemic is growing by the day. Nancy Carlson joins us with more on that. She, of course, the host of CBC Edmonton News at 6. And Nancy, 2,100 city employees there in Edmonton received their notice today.
Yeah, you know, Rob, the city says they kept staff on as long as they could. Edmonton city manager, he was choking back tears when he delivered the news today. The temporary layoffs apply to both full and part-time employees. He says some employees have been redeployed to other positions, but they just need to be more aggressive. So 1,600 of the positions include everyone from lifeguards to fitness instructors and arena attendants to city hall tour guides and education instructors, for example. The library is laying off 489 people, which is 3/4 of its staff. And Adam Laughlin says as the city takes a closer look at its books, this might not be the end of it.
At this point in time, we're evaluating. We don't know, but as I said in my opening comments, this is an unprecedented time, and this is extremely tough, but we do have some challenges fiscally that we do need to respond to, so we'll be evaluating that as we come closer to April 15th.
Nancy, what kind of support are those laid-off workers receiving from the city, if any?
So they're going to keep their benefits and mental health supports for an undetermined period of time. And depending on whether they are full or part-time, they will receive about 75% of their pay for 8 to 16 weeks. And Adam Laughlin also says that some of them will qualify for the emergency assistance from the federal government.
Nancy Carlson at Edmonton. Thanks, Nancy. The city of Calgary is also laying off workers due to the pandemic. Most of the cuts will come from the recreation department. Temporary, casual, and part-time staff are being let go because many city-run facilities are shutting down, if not shut already. Mayor Naheed Nenshi wouldn't give exact numbers on the job losses, but the city says this move is only temporary.
If you are teaching a fitness class and that fitness facility is closed, you're just not getting those hours. And for a lot of these folks, it made sense to help get them into a place where they can access some of the federal and provincial government supports that are available, because the alternative is just to not have any hours.
And thousands of people who work in Alberta's education system are losing their jobs. With schools shuttered, the province is redirecting $100 million in school funding to the COVID crisis. The schools are being asked to temporarily lay off education assistants and non-essential support staff. Their union predicts that will put 20,000 Albertans out of work. Hundreds of doctors in Alberta are also bracing for change, and they're sounding the alarm. More than 800 physicians have signed a letter urging the Premier to postpone changes to the healthcare system that are set to kick in on Wednesday. The government abruptly ended its master agreement with doctors last month, making room for new rules that the docs say will be detrimental to patients.
400 clinics across Alberta have laid off a major component of their support staff or are closing. This cannot happen during a pandemic. We need all hands on deck, and we need to resource our healthcare system appropriately.
A spokesperson for Alberta's health minister tells CBC News the government will provide whatever resources are necessary during this pandemic, and that includes more COVID testing kits. The province announcing a $9 million deal with a Canadian tech company today to bring new handheld rapid testing devices to Alberta. The devices are expected to confirm results in less than an hour. Saskatchewan's opposition leader, Ryan Miley, is asking the provincial government to ramp up testing, and he doesn't want to see tests limited or rationed. Miley says anyone with COVID-19 symptoms should be tested. The government says it won't say whether it's been rationing tests, but adds that it's important to conserve testing for those who need it.
Right now is not the time to be rationing testing. I've been talking to people who've called 811, had symptoms, had a good reason to be tested, and are getting told to just self-isolate and not get tested. That's exactly the opposite of what we need to do right now. We need to make sure that we're expanding testing and then the contact tracing. Our capacity to do so, we have the capacity to increase testing now.
And speaking of testing, Saskatchewan RCMP have confirmed that a Prince Albert Mountie has tested positive for COVID-19. We're told the officer was exposed to the virus on March 25th and tested positive 3 days later. The person has been isolating since being exposed, and co-workers have been notified. There's been a triple homicide in Prince Albert, and just a warning now, you may find this next story upsetting. The host of CBC News Saskatchewan, Sam McCaig, is following this one for us. And Sam, it involves a family and small children.
Yes, Rob, and we're still getting details on this terrible story. Here's what we know right now. Police were called to a home on the west side of Prince Albert around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. There, they found a man and a woman, both 56 years old, both of them dead. Then they found a little boy, just 7 years old, also dead. His 5-year-old sister was also in the house and is critically hurt. Police wouldn't say anything about the relationship of the victims, but we have confirmed the two adults were grandparents to the children. This afternoon, Prince Albert's Police Chief Jonathan Bergen said some people were unaccounted for, and that's what led police to be called out to the home.
A number of patrol officers responded immediately. Of course, learned and observed what they did. Found the 5-year-old girl in the condition that she is, and we're able to work with medical to get her transported for medical emergent care. It's a tragedy that's unimaginable for the community, our staff, and definitely the family of the loved ones here who are now deceased.
Rob, we now know Heather Lynn Sumners is the mother of the children involved. Understandably, she says she's not ready to speak with CBC, but she did point to information and an online fundraiser started by the children's aunt. In it, it says yesterday she received the most difficult news of her life, and that her 7-year-old son, Bentley, was dead, and that her 5-year-old daughter, Kendra, is seriously injured and stable now after 3 surgeries. It also notes Kendra was treated by medical teams in Prince Albert, Saskatoon, and Edmonton. We should also note that Sumner has another young son who was not in the house at the time. At this point, Prince Albert police do not have anyone in custody and no charges have been laid. We're expecting more details tomorrow. Rob?
Okay, we'll watch for those then. Thank you very much, Sam. How low will it go? The price of oil took another beating today. West Texas Intermediate was trading below $20 a barrel at one point. The first time that's happened in 18 years. Western Canadian Select fell below $4 a barrel, with some analysts predicting it could soon hit 0 Still no word out of Ottawa on when that relief package for the energy sector is coming. So no surprise, gas prices continue to take a tumble across the prairies. Today in Regina, prices hovered around 72 cents a litre. We're told some big box stores in Regina and Saskatoon were selling for as low as 58 cents a litre. And according to GasBuddy.com, the lowest price in Alberta is 55 cents a litre in Edmonton. Okay, a new survey has found that Albertans are more concerned about their finances than most Canadians. According to insolvency firm MNP, 6 in 10 Albertans say they're $200 or less away from not being able to pay their bills. 1 in 3 say they can't meet their debt obligations each month. 46% are worried that either themselves or someone in their household could lose their job, and 46% are not confident they can cope financially if they lose their job. Some 6,900 WestJet employees already have. And here's the result. Dozens of planes now parked near the Calgary International Airport due to declining passenger traffic. 120 planes out of its fleet of 181 have been grounded. The airport is also closing part of its terminals. Domestic departures and arrivals will go through Concourse B and C because Concourse A will be closed. International and U.S. arrivals will continue in the International Terminal building, but the main Concourse D will be closed. In addition, U.S. Customs and Border Protection hours may be reduced. So a lot of people keeping their feet on the ground right now, but too many of them are gathering in the same places. Saskatoon Mayor Charlie Clark says people are packing outdoor trails in that city, and he warns some spots are narrow and people can't keep the recommended 2-meter distance.
What we really need people to do right now is to not all gather and head towards one place in the city or another. We need you to walk in your own neighborhood. We need you to take advantage of some of the beautiful big neighborhood parks that we have throughout the city.
In Regina, the same could be said for people in the city's Wascana Park. Many people could be seen walking around the lake far too close to each other. Over the weekend, 11 people were charged with violating the province's public health order, banning gatherings with more than 10 people. All of them were in an SUV being pursued by police because of suspicious activity. Well, COVID-19 concerns are growing in Canada's agriculture sector. Farmers worried the pandemic could cause a delay in the supply chain and affect spring seeding or disrupt livestock operations, something that would trickle down to consumers. CBC Business reporter Kyle Bax has more.
With another delivery of fuel to his farm, Matt Sawyer says he now has enough diesel for all his trucks and tractors for several months. He just needs a few other supplies to arrive before he'll have peace of mind.
Once we can secure our canola seed, and we also have to ensure that we have a continuous supply of our fuel, then we should be able to put this crop in the ground fairly comfortably.
Just as the stock markets have plunged because of COVID-19, so too has the price for many crops. John Drieger is a commodity analyst.
The general pattern that we've been seeing is initially everything got clobbered, really hard early on. What we've seen since then actually is some rebound across most crop markets.
Agriculture groups say the supply chain needs to hold up. That includes railways, the trucking industry, and processing plants for crops and livestock. In the meantime, Sawyer is trying to stay optimistic. He's hopeful the ag sector will eventually see a boost when the pandemic is over.
All those grocery stores are going to have to, restock. The restaurants, people are going to want to get out and eat, drink some beer. We should be seeing a global demand, for food production.
For now, he keeps a close eye on his supplies to keep his operation up and running. Kyle Bax, CBC News, near Acme, Alberta.
And like so many sectors, the outbreak has impacted dentistry in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Offices has shut down, and people who work in that field, well, they have a little more time on their hands these days, or keys at their fingertips in this case. A delicate twist to Queen's rock and roll classic Bohemian Rhapsody there. It's from the hands of Thomas Yu, who's a periodontist based in Calgary and a classically trained pianist. Yu is no stranger to doing his own take on popular tunes. He's already covered songs by Radiohead and the Jackson 5.